You were talking about getting a big beating in 1958, so
Yeah,
we might have no team in
I don't
59.
know why the team wasn't reformed or wasn't entered in 59.
Right. Yeah.
Just wasn't like.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You went on to 1960.
1960 then, there was rumblings like, not sure why haven't we a team in Ballapicus now, like we had
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
team and we won, it's only 4 years previously we were after winning a junior final like, and Jack Mack was after holding Jimmy Murray in
Yeah.
an All-Ireland, that had played in an All-Ireland final like.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway, the team was, there was a meeting called anyway for Astley's house, above at Astley's Cross, where it's now Billy Gorman's Cross. Like.
Oh, yeah.
There was an old house there, derelict, at the other side of the road. It belonged to a man called Astley.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where Ballapicus used to have their meetings. That's where they had that meeting anyway, the inaugural meeting in 1960.
Right.
Now, I was getting a bit involved in community life at that stage. I was in Mockran and Ferramain Abbey Leagues, and I got a bit of education there. Like we had debates, and we had dramatic classes, and we had question times and public speaking, and then I was elected secretary of Ballapicus Fianna Fáil coming, and I was beginning to get interested locally, like.
You were getting involved in the community big time, yeah.
It was, yeah. So the next thing was, anyway, I was sitting there with my mouth open, listening to Johnny Carter and Jack Mack and Mick Cranny and Ned Duff, and talking about Ballapicus and so forth, and about that should be reformed. So it was all agreed anyway. So it's after they pick a committee then, you see. And so the next thing was, anyway, Ned Duff was proposed for chairman. He had been a sound ballot, all the Duff family, like brothers and sisters, all played. I believe the women used to play back in with the men back before that, like down in the hurling field.
In the early 50s and that, right?
Yeah, maybe they used to play with them at night time as well, I don't know.
We're all part of the action anyway, yeah.
The action. But anyway, Sir Ned was elected and they had a vice chairman, I think I forget, it's all in the book there anyway.
Yeah.
But then they wanted the secretary, like. So, a young Cahill there now, he'll be a good secretary, like. He's a bit of a worker, like, and he... oh God, I don't know anything about running a GAA club, but because you won't be long finding out, we'll give you good advice, like. But all the good advice was plenty of work, as it turned out. So we were off then to the adjourned convention, like, to enter the team and all like that. Wasn't long
learning your ropes and
any mistakes I made, Christy Wallace put me right, like.
Oh yeah. Right, very good. That was 1960.
1960. Yeah? So the team was entered anyway, and we were drawn against Mount Mellick in the first round, like. And I know there was a lot of scepticism, like.
Yeah.
There was 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, like, and then there was 35 and 36 and 37-year-olds as well. Like.
A big age gap, yeah?
Uncle Mick like, was standing on the bank in Mount Rat as we ran out of the dressing room out onto the field anyway, and he was heard to say, "Did you ever see such a crowd as..." What's the way he put it? "Did you ever see such a crowd of Bruce in your life?" You know, we were young lads, like, we hadn't a bit of muscle or anything on us, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Young
and sure, Christy Wallace and Peter, like, all they had in them was their terrier-like spirit of hurling, like, you know, and Ben Costigan and these lads, like, and Aidan Barry and... Oh, God, like... Anyway, we hammered Mount Mellick. We hammered Clonaslee in the next round, and... I don't know whether we bet another team before we met Mount Rat, like, in the semi-final.
Right.
Well, Mount Rat bet us by 6 points, like, but we gave as good as we got, like. Mount Rat went on after to win the junior final.
Right. Yeah, it was great.
That was 1960.
Yeah.
And 1961 came along, like, Jesus, we got to the final.
Right, very good.
And we were lined up against Mount Mellick anyway, and the bold Father Conlon inside was playing centre field for Mount Mellick. He was home on holiday from Rome, like.
Yeah.
And sure, the bet has been 10 or 12 points, like.
Right, yeah.
Maybe 13 now.
Yeah, but at least you got to the final anyway.
We got to the final.
Yeah.
And the next thing, 1962 came along. Oh, sure, boy, we were top. We were sure. We were after being beaten by Mount Rat, who won the final in 62. sorry, in 1960.
Yeah.
We were beaten by Mountmellick, who won the final in 61.
Yeah.
And now we were playing Kilcotton, like, who hadn't done much at all in junior, and we met him in Dunn's Field in Shanahoe, like.
Yeah.
Now I don't know what happened, like, but we were well beaten anyway, and that was one of the biggest disappointments that I had with Ballapicus. Like, you know, when you think you're going to win, like, and,
Absolutely, yeah.
and you get well bet, like,
Yeah, it's fine. But that's what sport is, PJ, is that you know, when your expectations is high and you get beaten. Yeah,
that's what sport is right. So now, as Tom told me there earlier, we went up intermediate to play. We probably did think that we were a good team, like.
Yeah.
And we went up intermediate then. I didn't remember that, but Tom was telling me we went up intermediate then and played Colt, and sure they kind of put hurling out of our heads as well. We were well beaten by Colt in the intermediate championship.
Then, they were an established team that time.
They were, yeah. Billy Morgan and Billy Donovan, and I don't know whether Jimmy Grace would have been playing with Colt. Would he have been playing with Colt? He had a brother, Sonny, and the Hearnses. Oh, they were serious lads. And we all knew one another too, which made it more interesting. Like, the Hearnses would be out like collecting the corn and bringing out the fertilizer from McDonald's.
That's right, in
the crack about the hurling would be.
It'd be good. Just like today, it'd been a rivalry. Yeah,
that's right. So anyway, so that was 1961,
62 when you got well beaten.
Yeah, but 1963 started off anyway, and sure we...
Wouldn't I ask you this, had you a trainer this time, or someone to train you?
Well, Mick Cranny was supposed to be the trainer, like.
Right.
Mick had played with Laois, like, back in the 30s.
Yeah.
And he was playing with Clonad. This was another, there was no parish rule there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that now.
Some of the brothers were playing with Ballapicus in the 30s, but Mick, I don't know whether I suppose Mick was a very good hurler, and he played with Laois as well.
Yeah.
After, when he was with Clonad, like.
Yeah.
I remember Lara Brady mentioned a medal presentation in the CYMS hall in 63 or 4.
Yeah.
About the Cranny man that played with Clonad and Laois in the 30s, you know.
Yeah.
So Mick was the trainer.
Yeah.
But the training was running like hell around G's big field there in front of Billy Gorman's.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was another little field of G's down the Carlow Road there where Farrell's house is now, like.
Oh, yeah.
And it was on a slope, like. So some of it was down the hill, but the next thing was real uphill, like.
Yeah.
And running and hurling down in the field, like, on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
That was our training, like, you know.
Yeah. So 62 then, you were well beaten in 62, and then 63 was a successful year for you.
Yeah, sure, we won all. Now, I just read it in the Ballapicus hurlers book there. I never remember meeting Cahill in that championship, or was that the intermediate championship? We're in 63 now. I think it was Cahill. Yeah, we met Cahill. And we only bet Kyle be 3 or 4 points. Like, do you remember that match, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
That was intermediate. It was. I read it in the book there. Yeah. We bet all the good teams anyway. We got to the final against Cuda.
Yeah.
Now Cuda, like, were serious boys. Like, I mean, I think they had been senior earlier.
Right.
And Jimmy Lyons was playing with him, and Paddy Carroll, and the two Keenans, and they were hardly boys, like.
Names that cropped up later on, the Cameros, actually, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was a serious team.
No, that was a serious match, like.
Yeah.
Now, can you remember, Tom, who was put off that day for Ballap? It's mentioned in our book there.
Well, I do remember lads talking about that Jimmy Lyons pulling someone very dirty.
We'll get to that in a minute.
All right, very good. There was a bit of ground hurling to be done.
Earlier than that, there was a Ballapicus man put off.
All right.
And there was no mention of a Cuda man being put off.
Martin Law was put off.
Quite Martin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Martin got a bad cut in his head that day, did he know? Was that in 64? One of the days Martin said he got a bad cut a bad cut.
But then we're talking about 64.
Sure, yeah,
We're
yeah.
talking about 64 now in the intermediate final.
Yeah, but how about 63? We didn't finish off 63. How you finished off the year
Oh,
63?
we got you, we hammered Port Leash, like we scored 6 goals and 10 points.
All right, in 63.
In 63,
So
yeah.
you won the intermediate in 63.
We
Junior.
won the junior in 63, yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.